Hello, hello, Des Moines. This is Carla Alanese with Rules for Life with Carla. And today, the rule that I have for you is do not despise your blessing or your future, is what I mean, actually. Now, I have to start with reading a story for you. And just be patient with me because I will get to the point of what I mean with the story. So we're going to start with Genesis 25. And Genesis 25 says like this. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. He was tired. He was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. I'm exhausted." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright as of this day." And Esau said, "Look, I am about to die. So what is this birthright to me?" Then Jacob said, "Okay, swear to me as of this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Oh, my goodness. Now, this is a story that was written thousands of years ago. And what the heck does this story have anything to do with you and me in 2023? Well, let me just share a couple things. Now, back in the olden days, if you were the firstborn, there were rights that went with being a firstborn. You got the wealth, you got the assets, you got the animals, you had the favor. Even within a city, you had the favor that went along with you because you were the firstborn. So being the firstborn and having the birthright of a firstborn gave you a totally, completely different life than your brothers and sisters. So it was a very huge deal, even in some countries right now still, where the firstborn just gets all of these things. So now what was going on? What was going on in this story? We have Esau, and we see this interchange between him and his brother. And Esau was desperate. He was exhausted. He was tired. And man, I was like, I can totally relate to that dude. Sometimes I'm just so tired and exhausted from life, and everything that goes along week by week, weekend by weekend. And the way he expressed it is, "I'm so hungry. I feel like I'm about to die. So hook me up with some food, dude." So he was desperate for something that he needed and pleasure. He wanted the pleasure of having something to eat. I'm sure it was good. It sounds good. I love lentil soup. And he was in great need, and he was exhausted. But what happened was, because of this momentary need and pleasure that he just needed at that moment, he gave up in his heart something that was extremely valuable, something that it was his future. He completely despised, he devalued his future. And it was a great deal back then. And maybe, it was just an going back and forth, an interaction between him and his brother. But in his heart, he devalued a future and a blessing that eventually did come to pass. He lost his birthright. And again, when I heard the story, immediately I thought, oh my gosh, I know someone that I know so-and-so, and because of what, they did, or they did something, and they could have had an amazing future. And oh, I know of this other person, and he definitely despised his future and the blessing he could have had because, he did this and he did that. So we can think that way. And I do know people that have lost an amazing future and that had lost an amazing blessing because they weren't focused on that and they despised it. They didn't give value to it. And then they screwed up, maybe with sex, alcohol, drugs, and, just not focused on a blessing that they could have had. So, but then I had to ask the question to myself, okay, Carla, how have I despised my future? How have I devalued blessing in my life? And the answer that came to me was, the way I have despised my future and my blessing is because of fear. Sometimes I say to myself, I just don't want to be afraid anymore. And it's something that I am truly working on personally, is for me to have courage, for me to have trust and faith and screw fear, and it's something that I am personally working on, because I do realize now that it is because of fear holding me back that I have devalued my blessing. I have devalued the future, the amazing future that God, can have for me. And that includes, the family that I want to have. That includes the legacy that I want to leave for my children, for my grandchildren. That includes the type of businesses that I want to own and the wealth that I desire to have. All of these blessings that in the amazing future that I have right in front of me, but because of fear, I am not getting a hold of them. And believe me, I'm in the works. I am like really working for fear to not hold me away from the future that I can have. So I'm working on that. But then again, I want to bring it back to you. I want to bring it back home. Can you think of times where you had a momentary need, or when you had a momentary pleasure? It's a momentary need and a momentary pleasure that you did or took or whatever, that has jeopardized your future, that has jeopardized the blessing. And I'm going to call it a divine blessing, a blessing that we all have a right to from God. And that includes everything. You're an amazing family, and amazing relationships, amazing health, amazing opportunities and wealth, and serving others. And, those are blessings and those are favors. How have you, with your momentary need or momentary pleasure, have you put that at risk? So can you think about that? And then the last question that I have for you is, what can you do today to stop that? What can you do today to change that? What can you do today to make sure that you do not lose out on the blessing that God can have for you and the amazing future that you can have? So I hope you learned something today, because I did, and I am learning along with you. And let me know.